Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 73. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is two episodes in 1 week. I'm joined by my co host, as always, Ethan Barlow. And today we're going to be previewing the Premier Sports Cup final or League Cup final. Obviously, Stephen Robinson's St Mirren taking on Wilfred Nancy's Celtic. But before we get into that, there were Scottish teams in action in Europe last night. So we're going to go over that as well. But first of all, Ethan, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Another disappointing night for the Scottish clubs in Europe, as we'll get onto, but we've got a full card of Premiership fixtures at the weekend, barring obviously Celtic and St Mirren going head to head in a very interesting League Cup final as it's building up to be. How's yourself, Alex?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I don't know about you, but I'm quite happy to have uni done for the Christmas break. Obviously we've still got other stuff we can be working on, but I'm feeling pretty chilled out now.
Yeah, exactly that, and can focus on enjoying the football, but I'm sure we already done that anyway, as we explain on here every week. But we thought we had to do an extra episode, obviously, because I think we said we would cover it the other day, but we never really got the opportunity. And it feels better to cover it after we've seen another performance from Wilfred Nancy's Celtic, although I still don't think we've learned too much from
No,
following that game.
no, definitely not. So we'll start on the early kickoff with St Mirren with Ferencvaros and Rangers. Robbie Keane's Ferencvaros, obviously former Celtic striker, but probably best known for his time at Tottenham Hotspur, where he bagged loads of goals. But a 2-1 win for Ferencvaros last night, and yeah, it wasn't great at all. Rangers opened the scoring, a nice finish from Bojan Miovski. People would say, "Oh, it's close in." But to position your body like that and put it past the goalkeeper is a really difficult skill. If any of us tried it, we'd probably pull a hamstring or hurt our groins or something like that. So yeah, really good finish from Miovski. But other than that, it wasn't a great game overall. I didn't think any team was particularly good. I thought Ferencvaros um, did really well, hounding Rangers and in their forward areas, not letting Rangers get on the ball. Um, they had a few opportunities. The Rangers' defence was all over the place for Ferencvaros' first goal. A nice wee give and go, but Dede Gassama dropping his man, which is really, really poor, not tracking runs. And then for Ferencvaros' second goal, Emmanuel Fernandez allowing Varga in at the back post. Really, really poor defending all round from Rangers on the evening, and they didn't show much in the attacking areas either. They couldn't hold on to the ball at all. So yeah, really disappointing night for Rangers in Europe. And Danny Rowe said as much in his press conference. He was really angry with the defending and the goals that they conceded.
Yeah, and it's just a continuation for Rangers in the Europa League this season, and I think Danny Rowe and possibly even the players will maybe be happy that they are officially out now and it's over and they can focus on the domestic stuff because obviously in the league, I think Danny Rowe's Rangers team are unbeaten in 10 games, is it? So that's something to be protected and something to be positive about. Whereas in European football, I think we've seen that the Rangers squad and as we'll get on to, I think some of the other squads concerning Scottish football just aren't good enough to compete at that level at the minute, and it is disappointing from where even Rangers were last season. But it shows how poor the transfer window was and the job Danny Rowe's got in his hands to turn it around. I didn't get to catch much of this game, but I thought it was interesting. Was there a slight sort of maybe tweak in his usual formation for the game?
He went back to sort of a 5/3 back. He's done that a couple of times and then he's gone to the four, but he went back to a three. I'm not sure why. Obviously, we're not football managers, we're not tacticians. We like to think we are sometimes, but I'm not sure why he's tweaked it like that. But I think the issue with this Rangers team this season when they've played we three or a 5 at the back. I thought this issue particularly showed itself in the League Cup semi-final against Celtic. There's no outlet in forward areas that Rangers can get out. There's no presence in the middle of the park. They were getting overrun in both these games. And, I could probably tell you I think Celtic were better than Ferencváros were. I didn't think they were particularly great, but they did enough on the night, and they were better than Rangers, who were extremely poor. So, the tactics didn't work, but I think as well, the players, like you said, Ethan, that are in the squad are not good enough to execute. This kind of play. Starting with like Danilo on the right wing, I'm so done with Danilo. I'm done with him. He's rubbish, absolutely rubbish. Gedi Gasama's been poor for a while now. Boyamowski seems to be on the up, which is positive. That's 3 goals in his last 2 games. So hopefully he can keep building on that. In the middle of the park, it was Barron and Raskin in there. I think it's difficult to really criticise them because I think you needed an extra body in there. The formation change might have also been down to the fact that Diomande was suspended as well after the red card against Braga. So, maybe that's why. But Max Aaron's quite poor. Jaden Magoma was okay. Nasser Jiga was actually pretty good. He put in a couple of incredible last-ditch challenges. He's temporarily in my good books. Manuel Fernandez was shocking. Sleeping at the back post, that's criminal. When I watched it back, and I'm like, how are you that like lax in defence when you've got a striker at your back? So
Striker that scored 20 goals already this season.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And then Tavernier wasn't great either. So there's definitely a long haul required. For Danny Role, I think you need to give him at least 2 transfer windows to sort of get this squad the way he wants it to look.
Yeah, we've seen so much improvement from and I think we've spoke on this almost to death, but we've seen so much improvement, certainly domestically, since Russell Martin, even results-wise. But I do think Danny Role, although the squad isn't great, I think he could be doing with a win in a big game, and I mean against Celtic when it comes, or in the Europa League, even though the 2 last games are pretty much immaterial in the context of Rangers getting out and into the knockout rounds that you could use with one big result, I think. But again, he's in a difficult scenario.
That sentiment, however, I think I'm starting to wonder whether he's got this set of players operating at the peak of their powers. This is what we can get from these players, which isn't a comforting thought, because obviously it's not going to be a full squad overhaul in the January window. So, I guess we'll need to see. Hopefully, Cornelius will be back soon. Hopefully, Suter will be back soon. Obviously, Nadeem Bayrami thinks that he's out for an extended period, which is a shame because I thought he'd been playing quite well recently. It's
I was just going to say there was Dujon Sterling back. Obviously, came off the bench for the first minute since the Athletic Bilbao game last season. So I imagine he'll be one that the Rangers fans and Danny Rowe will be happy to come back as such a versatile player, especially when Danny Rowe, as we've seen, is known to switch up the formation quite frequently.
If Sterling's fully fit, and he's able to play, and we're still struggling for centre backs, I'd have him in there over either one of the 2 who are currently playing. So, he's so physical. He's so good at the defending, tackling. I think if Daiza Maeda had been terrorising Rangers for years, and then I think that one Old Firm game, Dujon Sterling was actually playing on him, and he sort of locked him up. So it's he's the kind of player that you really want in your team. And yeah, if he's fully fit, I'd definitely have him straight in the starting 11 in the centre back roles, or even any of the full back roles either. I reckon he could do a better job across the defence than any of the current defenders right now.
Yeah, probably. We've seen him obviously. He's highest. I remember him. I think going into a back five at Celtic Park it was, and he was excellent. So I don't know if we've seen him. You probably know more than me in a back four, but I think he's someone that can be certainly
He
utilised
has played
to.
in a back
I
four
don't know.
previously as well. So I think he not actually centre back in that 3-0.
Oh yeah, I think he was. I think he was. Yeah, I think you're right.
When Rangers' whole squad was decimated. one of
Yeah.
one of the freak results um, over the years. But anyway, we've talked. I think we've talked about Rangers enough. Obviously, they're out of the Europa League. Onto a team that are unfortunately out of the Conference League, Aberdeen, with a 1-0 loss to Strasbourg. However, I think across the three teams, just based on the difficulty of their draw and excluding, that embarrassing 6-0 defeat in Athens, you could look at it and look at Aberdeen with maybe a sense of pride, the difficulty of their draw. They've made a really good go of it. I mean, apart from, like I said, that horrible defeat, the games have been pretty tight.
Yeah, exactly that. And you look at the possessions of the opponents that they've played. Strasbourg first in the Conference League, Shakhtar Donetsk second in the Conference League, AK Athens, which was the one disappointment I would say performance-wise, fourth in the Conference League, Sparta Prague, who they played in the last game, sixth in the Conference League, AK Larnaca 10th, and FC Noah 17th. That's the one maybe they feel they should have got some points, but even then they're comfortably in the playoff position. So yeah, Aberdeen. I think we seen it at the start. They were dealt a very tough hand when it came to opponents. It was almost as if it was a Europa League standard fixture list. But I think they've competed well in the games, and apart from that AK Athens game, which I mentioned, they can be proud of their performances. I think they would have liked to have taken more points, especially from the AK Larnaca, the Noah games. Maybe wins there could have gave them a chance going into this last fixture. But again, they went toe to toe with Strasbourg, and Strasbourg had enough chances to certainly win the game by more than 1-0. But they put up a real good fight. They had a goal from Canister, the bit of hit off his hand. Unfortunately, that would have been his first Aberdeen goal, I think. And then Strasbourg created chances and got their goal through Godo, who looked very good and could have had a hat trick quite easily on the night if it wasn't for Dimitar Mitov, who was excellent again. And I think he's slowly building up a case for possibly even being the best goalkeeper in the Premiership. I'd certainly say he's been that this season with some of the saves
I
and
think
performances.
I don't think you could argue anyone else. I mean, the usuals were, the ones you would usually go up against is Kasper Schmeichel, who's having a horror season. Um, once again making mistakes at the back last night, and
I think horror. I get what you're saying. It's been a drop off. I think horror season is maybe a slight exaggeration.
I'd say it's horror. He's doing it every week. He's giving the ball away and then screaming at his defenders.
For a goalkeeper, I know that's poor, and it's definitely been a poor season by his standards throughout his career. But I'd say a horror season is when the goalkeeper's constantly dropping clangers and their net. I'd say like Kucherenko so far has had I wouldn't even maybe say he's had one, but he's had an awful season. Obviously, he's out, I think, injured at the minute. But yeah, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But I get your point.
Okay. And then Jack Butland he's been fine. He's been good, but nothing like outstanding. I would say he's made some really good saves, some good penalty saves as well. But yeah, Dimitar Mitov, I think, certainly has probably the strongest case to be the best goalkeeper in the Premiership at the moment. Moving on to Kasper Schmeichel's side, obviously Celtic won half of the cup final at the weekend. They hosted Roma at Parkhead last night. and we're on the end of a 3-0 drubbing uh, off of Gasparini's Roma side. And remember when I was telling you, Ethan, you could see Roma were quality and you just felt like they had that extra gear the entire time. Did you get that sense last night?
Yeah, I did. I thought Roma, and you would have heard my prediction in the last episode. I thought Roma would have way too much for Celtic, regardless of what state Celtic were in, whether it was a Martin O'Neill Celtic, a Brendan Rodgers Celtic, or now as we're in a Wilfred Nancy Celtic. I think they're a quality team. They're competing up the upper end of the Serie A. You've seen some of the players that didn't even start the game, the Paulo Dybalas, Leon Bailey, who obviously had that goal chopped off for offside. They're a quality opposition. That being said, though, I thought Celtic were, especially in the first half, were really poor at points, especially in the physical battles. I think Roma just dominated them. Roma seemed more energetic. They seemed to just bully Celtic all over the pitch, and Celtic couldn't really create anything. And Roma took the goals really well. Liam Scales, obviously, a massive hand in the first one with the own goal. That's now two. Goals from corners Celtic have conceded in many matches under Wilfred Nancy, which is obviously a concern going into the League Cup final. And then Evan Ferguson, who's had a pretty torrid time of it at Roma, but really two good striker goals, especially the second one. I would say is almost world class striker play with the touch and the finish. I think
Yeah,
Celtic have got to do a lot better.
he was excellent last night. Just everything about his play. You were speaking about strength there. He was, really, really strong, sort of in those physical battles. A couple others that I thought were really good were Chelik, and on the other side, Devin Range. I thought Mario Hermoso had a good game as well. Gianluca Mancini obviously putting the pressure on Scales for the goal. Did you see Mancini, Ethan, making those runs when Roma were on the ball? He was like going out wide and cutting into the front line.
Yeah, I did. I think there was one point where he was screaming for the ball, and then one of his teammates passed it to him, and he was offside, and he was absolutely raging because if the player had given it earlier, then he would have been onside and a good attacking possession. But no, I certainly seen that, and Roma had the freeness to do that, especially as I mentioned in the pre-show when you played to defensive minded wing backs rather than the attacking minded wing backs, which Celtic play. Then you can afford to do that, and obviously Celtic didn't put much pressure on it. They got that penalty at the end of the first half, which came out of nowhere, and Celtic didn't really deserve. I think it was Hermoso that brought Engels down, and then Arne Engels stepped up, and I don't think many people in the ground maybe had confidence in it. We put that away with just how it had went in the first half, and he
It
beats the
was mad.
goalkeeper, but
It
off
was
the
mad.
post.
I was in the pub watching it with my mates, and then my mate went, "He's hitting the left post, as in the post like you see from the thing." And then when he hit the post, we all went absolutely mental, as if there'd been a goal or something. People were looking at us like, "What's going on here?" But he actually went, he's hit the left post, and I couldn't believe that he predicted that.
Yeah, it was pretty predictable that he wasn't going to score to that effect. Is very impressive. Um, but yeah, I didn't have any, and I don't think Celtic deserved a goal in that first half. Roma were by far the better team. They took their chances when they came. They had a few other chances which they maybe could have done better with. But Celtic didn't really create anything. Although in the second half, and I think Evan Ferguson said as much, and obviously you've got to mind the fact that Roma are 3-0 up away from home. They've got an important league battle to fight if they still have aspirations of finishing in the top four or even winning the Scudetto. Then they've got players to rest and substitutions to make and stuff like that. So I don't think you can fully take this into account. But I think Celtic were a lot better in the second half. They pressured Roma the way slightly Roma did in the first half. They won the ball back a lot. They created a lot better chances. The substitutions from Wilfred Nancy at halftime, he obviously made a triple substitution, as he probably had to. But I thought it was a lot better, and there'll be real considerations for him going into Sunday on changing his starting lineup because obviously in back-to-back games he started the same starting 11. I thought Kelechi Nacho brought an energy that we hadn't seen from Celtic in attacking areas. He should have scored the 1-on-1. Then obviously he scores, but he's offside. And I think on another day, maybe this similar to the Hearts game, if Celtic are a little bit more clinical in front of goal, they could have took their chances. But as you said, it did feel like Roma were sitting off the game and could have took it up a gear at any point they wanted. They obviously got that goal from Leon Bailey as well, which was offside. But yeah, I think it's hard to really to judge how Celtic are developing in this Wilfred Nancy era because it's difficult when you go up against a top quality opposition. And obviously, I'd imagine he had 2 extra training sessions from the Sunday's match against Hearts. It didn't seem like that in the first half, but Hearts and Roma, I would say, and I'd say that for any team in Scottish football are uncomparable to Roma at the minute. So yeah, it is really interesting.
One thing that I absolutely hate about Wilfred Nancy's Celtic sides so far, it just gives me I hate it. I think I have centre back OCD. 3 left footers in the back three. I do not like it at all. And you could see, even in the Hearts game, and then in the game the other night, he is quite calm and collected, Austin Trusty, but you can see him struggling when, he's trying to play on his right foot and, he's getting pressured. And that could be an issue, I think, going into Sunday. So
yeah, I think that is. I agree with you. I think that is an issue, and I think it's something that he has decided to do. Obviously, he's decided to play the back three with the 3 left footers. I feel like he's with the quality of the squad and how they were playing when he came in. I think he was kind of forced into that with the availability of the players. But then again, I think something we've seen is that he likes the inverted players. Arne Engels usually more playing on the right hand side of the midfield, and that midfield three now playing to the left of left-footed Callum McGregor, certainly starting that way in the two. And it's more of a right-footed player on the left being able to cut in and play those curved balls into the middle of the pitch because the sort of box in midfield is something that I think we've seen from Wilfred Nancy with the 2 sitting midfielders and the 2 attacking ones is something he likes to crowd the midfield area. I think there was a picture I seen last night where there was the 4 Celtic midfielders. You could throw a blanket over them with how close they were. But yeah, I think there's definitely things that need to be changed, and I think he will make changes going into the Sunday's game, which will probably
having Yang sort of in that. Well, you couldn't. It's not even really a wing back, is it? It's just like a right midfielder in it.
yeah.
Having him on that side, I know you mentioned the sitting players, but I think Austin Trusty is really exposed, in that area, which is why he does receive a lot of the pressure, making him want to play on his weak foot.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously, the managers of the opposition teams aren't silly. Celtic have come up against 2 well-experienced managers in their own right. I'm not comparing Derek McInnes and Gasparini in any means, but they're 2 great managers in their own right. And then Stephen Robinson is someone who's also been around the block and had great success. So these aren't novices that Wilfred Nancy's gone up against. They're going to know that to target Austin Trusty, and that's what they probably have done. I don't think Roma really needed to do that last night, but certainly Hearts did take advantage of that. And it'll be interesting because when Kobe Donovan came on and he for Kieran Tierney at half time and he shuffled the back 3 across to get Donovan at right central defence, I thought it was a lot better dynamic for Celtic. Obviously, they played a lot better. Again, I'm not weighing everything on that because Roma could have sat off the game and they probably did. But I think that might be something that comes into consideration. And I think Sebastian Tenekte, although he played the 90 minutes, I don't think he's cut out for that wing back role at all on the left hand side. I think Yang's shown in times that he is possibly that player that can do that. Maybe not to the greatest effect, but considering what Celtic have got available at the minute. But yeah, I think Kobe Donovan could certainly come into the starting 11, as could Kelechi and Nacho, I think certainly. Whether he manages to fit both him and Daisen Maeda into the starting 11, you feel like maybe Daisen Maeda could do that left wing back role, but then you take away from maybe his best quality, which is pressing defenders and goalkeepers. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how Wilfred Nancy lines up against St Mirren. It'll be really interesting to see how Stephen Robinson lines up against this Wilfred Nancy team.
Yeah, well, on to that. St Mirren's last game was against Dundee United. Nearly slipped up there, where they won 2-0. They started. I know Fort Mob's not the most reliable, but I think this is correct. It looks like a 3-5-2. They started with Shamal George, Marcus Fraser, Richard King, Miguel Freckleton, Conor McMenamin, Callian Phillips, sorry, Taylor, Gogic, Declan John, Mikael Mandron, and Jonah Ayunga. And looking at that, I don't think there will be much change in that lineup. Especially as well, I feel like that front two has the potential to cause a lot of problems for Celtic. You mentioned there, Ethan, you thought they struggled in the physical battles against Roma. You don't want to be lacking physicality coming up against a Stephen Robinson side, do you?
No, no, exactly that. The one thing, obviously, that'll be different is I don't imagine St Mirren are going to press as much, but in that physical aspect, you definitely make a good point in terms of Scottish Premiership sides. And I know St Mirren fans and Stephen Robinson sometimes get frustrated when people say this, but that is their strength. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way the players are best suited to
They play
playing.
good. They play good football as well, but they're a
Yeah,
physical bunch.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying that, and that's what everybody sees, and that's their strengths, and that's what they'll play to on Sunday, and they'll take advantage of seeing that Celtic maybe are unsure, and they're certainly unsure of how they're playing, and 100% of how Wilfred Nancy wants them to play. I think that there could be a few switches for St Mirren, but I don't think it'll be too many. I think maybe you could say Keanu Backus come into the midfield instead of someone like Fraser Taylor. Maybe Alex Gogic will drop back into a back three, although he's obviously you want to have. I think St Mirren and Stephen Robinson, of course, realise that he's not going to have the ball most of the game. So having those defensive players who are physically imposing and able to put in the hard yards is obviously an advantage. But then you want a player that's going to it's going to drive you forward, be an out ball, and get up there with Mandron and a younger. If it's Mandron and a younger, I imagine it will be Mikael Mandron, but it may be Dan and Dulu, although Jonah Younger's been starting the more recent games. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to
Look,
see.
if you look at other options as well, they could go for like Malik Dijksteel, brings you a lot of pace. Idowu is a really, really dangerous player as well. Jaden Richardson has been starting much of the season. He could come into the lineup as well. So, there is a lot you could look at with St Mirren. And based on, like you said, Ethan, it's difficult to tell. But based on Wilfred Nancy's, first two games, I'd imagine if they weren't before, Stephen Robinson and the St Mirren players will be looking at going, we fancy ourselves here.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. I don't think Stephen Robinson could have asked for a better situation to come into this game. Looking at it even a few weeks ago, Celtic are on a six in a row winning run under Martin O'Neill. They, although aren't playing great, they were getting the results. They come off the back of a great result in Rotterdam. St Mirren hadn't won a league game since October or September, I think it was. I think it was 8 league games they went without a win. Then obviously they get that win against Dundee United. Celtic are now faltering to defeats in the bounce under their new manager. I don't think there's much better situation that Stephen Robinson could have hoped for. That being said, he'll know that they still come into the game as massive underdogs. They'll still need to work their socks off and play at their best and hope Celtic have another off day to win the match. But I think they're well capable of that, and they've shown against Celtic. It's certainly in the last 3 meetings with how tight the games have been. I know they've either been a draw or went Celtic's way, but I think you said it the last time we spoke about this matchup. It feels like maybe a matter of time for Stephen Robinson and St Mirren that they get one over Celtic, and what better place to get it than Hampden for the League Cup final. What would it be? 13 years on since I think they beat Celtic in the same context.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I can't remember what I was going to say there. Oh yeah, make sure to stay tuned to the TikTok because there may be some cup final content on Sunday, depending on what I can get. I will be attending in the press area, so hopefully there'll be some interviews on there for you to go and have a look at. I'll do my best, but Ethan, unless you've got anything else to add, we should do some predictions and then wrap.
I was just gonna try and throw my what's the saying? Throw my ring in the hat, is it?
Hat in the ring.
Hat in the ring. Yeah, I got it the wrong way around. But you, for the Celtic lineup, I was going to try and predict the Celtic lineup.
Okay, on you go.
So I'm going to go with Casper Schmeichel on goals. A changed back three of Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, and I think Colby Donovan will make his way into that right centre back position for a natural player in that role. Then I think it'll be Dyson Maeda at left wing back, Yang at right wing back, a midfield two of Cal McGregor and Arnie Engels, and then this is an interesting one. I think actually no, sorry, I'm moving Arnie Engels forward and putting Paulo Bernardo in the starting lineup. I'm going to keep Rio Tati in the starting lineup, and then I'm going to start Kelechi and Acho up front. So yeah, that's my predicted lineup. Probably won't be right, but I thought I'd just guess it anyway. To see we come back on Tuesday. We'll probably be back after obviously Rangers and Hibs play on the Monday night. So we'll see how close I was.
Aye, we will see. Okay, so now moving on to the predictions. Make sure to leave your predictions in the comments below. What you think will happen in this game. And yeah, could go to extra time, could go to penalties. It's going to be exciting. Ethan, what are you thinking? First of all, are you confident? And second of all, what's your prediction?
Don't have confidence the word, but not as down. I think as probably most Celtic fans are at the minute. I still think Celtic are well capable to go to Hampden and win that match. I think without being disrespectful to St Mirren, they're a different kettle of fish, if I'd say, at the minute to Hearts, and even greater so to a team like Roma. But I still think Stephen Robinson's team are well capable of hurting Celtic in aspects of the game. I think it'll be very tight, it'll be very close. I could easily see it going either way, but I do still think Celtic will nick it. I think they've got the experience and the players have been there and doing it, and I think players, especially like Callum McGregor, will not want to make a habit of losing cup finals. And yeah, I could see them coming away with the trophy. Although, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Celtic were to lose their second cup final on the bounce. Although, as I mentioned, it's hard to see past Celtic, even though in this state they're not playing too well. The lift it would give the players, the fans, Wilfred Nancy, how much support and backing he could get from those supporters in the ground and across the stands if he did win. I feel like the previous two results, both in the Europa League and League, can be fixed. They would be eradicated from the Celtic fans' mind if they came away with that League Cup final trophy. And if I had to give a score prediction, I'll go with St Mirren to open the scoring, but Celtic to win 2-1 on the day after extra time.
Okay, that was a nice little monologue from Ethan there, and I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I think he said all that needs to be said. I'm gonna go with one each and Celtic to win on penalties. That has been this episode of the Dugout Podcast. Make sure to go check out the YouTube, the Spotify, the TikTok, the Twitter. TikTok is active again, so go and check that out. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, give us a rating, 5-star rating. I'm all over the place a little bit here, but yeah, thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye.